Hi everyone. The article we're looking at is called How Connected Are Canadians? It's by Catherine Middleton and Christine Sorenson. The article itself is from 2005. Besides just connection, we're also looking at the inequalities in terms of how Canadians are connected. The article has its framework and focus on healthcare. The government had this idea in the early 90s to try to get as much of their information online and to try to generate a need or create a need for their citizens to be online. So the idea of putting as many Canadians or all Canadians online was the end goal. And they tried to, again, create the need or create the reason for Canadians to be online. Let me put this in a little bit of context. In 1994, the Canadian government has an initiative called Connecting Canadians. Also in 1994, Canada established the Information Highway Advisory Council. To give you an idea of how dated this article is, when is the last time you've heard the internet called the information superhighway? 1996. Just a little bit of context for me. I get my first text-based internet connection using my 14.4K modem. I'm connected to the Hamilton FreeNet. I have no access to graphics. It is strictly text-based. It is monochrome, but I can find out lots of information. Also in 1994, the Information Highway Advisory Council was formed, and this council recommended measures to ensure affordability for the citizens of Canada so that they could access the internet and not have it be a financial burden. 1997. Personally, I replaced my 14.4K modem with a 56.6K modem, and I finally get a graphics-based internet, and I have Netscape as my browser. 1999. The Canadian government, to promote and further develop connections with their services and their citizens, creates more online activities and puts more of the resources online. Again, they want their Canadian citizens to be online as much as possible. 2001. The National Broadband Task Force has a recommendation, and that recommendation is by 2014 to have widespread broadband. Not just localized, but to have as many citizens, and ideally all citizens, of this great country that we call Canada to be online. If we think back, we know that's not happened yet. 2004. In 2004, remember, this is the year that all Canadians were supposed to be online. Has not happened yet. 2005. This is when this article was actually written. However, a lot of the data from this article is taken from 2001 to 2004. Gives you an idea of the context of this article and when it was actually written. Some of the research questions and some of the problems that Middleton and Sorenson had and wanted to figure out was what can be learned by analyzing Canadian household internet adoption. So if we analyze how many Canadians are actually online, what are we going to find out? First of all, is there a problem? Is there a problem with how many Canadians are online? Or is there not a problem? That's question one. We also wanted to see if there indeed was a divide with how many Canadians are online, because ideally we want that, but we have this space here in the middle. And not all Canadians are online. So we have a problem of who's online, is there a divide, and also if this divide can indeed be bridged. Can we make this gap smaller or non-existent? Those are the three problems. Some other reasons they wanted to do this article: they wanted to raise awareness. They also wanted to create dialogue and get people talking about how many people are indeed online. And they wanted to motivate researchers to do further research. Some of the quick conclusions that we reached. In 2003, we were not yet here. We didn't have everybody with broadband. However, we had 65% of Canadian households adopting the internet. Key term there, or key unit, is households. This is measured not by individuals who can access the internet, but by households. People that can adopt it are directly tied to how much money they have, the education they have, and how old they are. People that are more privileged, so people that have more money and a higher education, will more likely be on the internet than people who do not. And that just kind of makes sense. The next question was, well, maybe there is a divide, but is it really a problem? And yes, it is, because not everybody can have access to the resources, and in this case, some of the healthcare resources that they wanted. So why did the government really want to put all the healthcare resources on the internet? Well, they had this idea that their online resources could be much stronger and much more robust than their offline resources. So they thought, if we give people access to the internet and we almost mandate it, people will be more in tune with what's going on and have stronger access to the healthcare resources that our country needs. So we're finding out that in 2005, when the study was done, 65% of Canadians had access to the internet. We're also finding out education, age, and money are the three main factors. We have this other interesting idea about perspective. They have people that are near and people that are far. The people that are near the internet, they want to adopt the internet. However, they don't have the money to adopt it. They don't have the money to buy it. They're perhaps from a lower socioeconomic status. The other perspective is that we have people that, in fact, do have the money, but they just choose to not be adopted. They choose to not use the internet. They choose to not have internet access. And in fact, they really keep that digital divide happening. So those are some of the barriers that we had to access. Some of the barriers that we had were money, education, and age. And some people that just said, you know what, perspective, I don't need the internet. There's nothing on there that I really want. So our quick conclusions. There is this divide. We need to have people with access. We need to somehow bridge that because there is this problem. Can this divide be bridged? Well, the answer is yes and no, because we have people that perhaps just don't want to choose it. How do we tie this into education? Well, it's a fair bit different. It's also from 2001 to 2004. I mean, this is fairly old data. This data has no idea what wireless internet access is yet in terms of it being at Tim Hortons or Starbucks or McDonald's. This study also doesn't really know what Web 2.0 is yet. It doesn't know the interactive nature of Web 2.0. Up till now, the connections that we've had have all been fairly static. We've been consumers of it. We haven't really been contributors to the information yet. So those are some of the bigger issues and some of the context and some of the main findings of this. As I said earlier, in 2010, Sorenson and Middleton, actually Middleton only, writes another article in Globe and Mail stating that 80%, actually 79% of Canadians do have access to the internet. But think how much your own use of the internet has changed in the last 10 years or so. It is much more based on Web 2.0 and wireless. When we get back to our room, we'll talk about some of these things and really how it can affect education. I'll see you back in the room in a few minutes.